The Latin Nexus Business Networking Group is a community-driven movement that is dedicated to connecting entrepreneurs, leaders, and visionaries from all walks of life in order to build a better and stronger community for all of us to live, work, and create a future for our families.
Hello, everyone on this. Well, we're in Pennsylvania, so anyone that's enduring the snow, good afternoon. My name is Jeannie, and I'm here with the Latin Nexus. I'm your host, and today I have a privilege of speaking with a truly remarkable guest. My guest today is Mentor Tony. I know a few of us know her very, very well here in our area, and for those who know her here in the Stroudsburg area, she is someone who is very savvy. And you know exactly what I mean by that. She's faced the challenges of dropping out of high school and later returning to college to redefine her future, right? From becoming an IT manager to purchasing her first home at 28 years of age, right? And Tony has always had the spirit of an entrepreneur. She's built businesses, she's faced both success and setbacks and never stopped pushing forward, right? Tony's journey has also included overcoming deep personal challenges, growing up in tough environments, enduring hardships like childhood trauma, and navigating a verbally abusive marriage. Yet she continued, right? She emerged as a beacon of resilience and transformation. Today, she's a passionate advocate for health and wellness, having turned to the natural solution, right? After being diagnosed with a terminal illness, she now uses her experience, the innovative tools she's found, like quantum scanning and natural wellness programs, to help our others achieve a better health and a better life. Please help me in welcoming Tony to our show today. And it is an honor and a privilege. And it's insane the things that we learn from our friends, right? Sometimes we think we know, but we don't know it all. And I'm so happy to have her here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on here. I love sharing my story because I know there's somebody out there that needs to know that there's a way out, that there's hope, right? So anytime I can get an opportunity to share, I'm in.
Yeah. No, and your story of resilience is pretty amazing because it was a lot of things that I didn't know when you shared that with me. And it almost feels that a lot of us come out from that, right? It's almost coming out of the rubbles, and then we grow and develop into amazing people, especially amazing people because it's not about us. We make it about our community. And I just want you to share a little bit of who you are, how you came to be the person that you are today. Obviously, it's through those bumps and bruises that we are cultivated, right? And I know there are many men and women out there listening right now, and maybe they can grab a little piece of your story and know that the story is not finished, right? So I do want you to share a little bit about that with us right now, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I was born and raised in New York, right? The typical New Yorican. I really don't know too much about Puerto Rico itself, but talk to me about New York, I got it, right? And I grew up in a very difficult household. My first memory of life was my dad beating up my mother, right? And my sisters, who are way older than I am, intervening, and I'm in a corner crying, afraid because I don't understand what's going on.
Right.
And that was probably 4 years old at the time. And after that, I endured a lot of different things. I was sexually molested. I was molested. I was sexually abused. I was raped twice before the age of 12 because my stepfather was a drug trafficker. And so I was always exposed to people and situations that I had no business being a part of. And at the age of 16, I had my first child, which forced me to drop out of high school because I had nobody to take care of my kid. I turned around and married the baby daddy because that's what I was supposed to do, right? I got myself in trouble. I made the bed, I had to lay in it. And he wasn't physically abusive, but he was verbally and mentally, and stripped me of my total identity. And I stayed with him for 20 years because I was afraid of what people were going to say, right? I didn't want to hear people say, I told you so. So I endured and I tried everything I could to make the marriage work because I didn't grow up with a dad, with my biological dad. And so I didn't want that for my children.
Right, right.
And by the time I was 21, I had my second child. And I knew at that point I didn't want any more kids because I wasn't in a situation where I could bring up 5, 6 kids, right? And so I had the second one, and I literally at 21 screamed, pouted, threw tantrums, you name it. I did it in the doctor's office every time I went in for my examination. And he agreed by the end of the thing to do a tubal ligation, which is very unheard of at an age of 21 years old. But
Right.
for whatever reason, this doctor heard me. He heard me and he followed through. And I remember him clearly because he said to me, the day you regret this, you're going to remember me. And I wish I could find him only to thank him for listening to that little 21-year-old girl that most people say, they don't really know what you want at 21, right? I knew I didn't want any more children, and I'm grateful that he listened. And I remained with my ex-husband, married him, remained with him. Despite all the ups and downs, he suffered from drug addiction. He was a womanizer. I never knew when the cops were going to pull up at my door. It was that kind of life. And I try to hide that from my girls because I didn't want them to be exposed to that, right? I wanted them to have a sane life, if you will, whatever sane is, right? I wanted them to have good memories. So I did that. And then the last straw, 20 years in, I decided I was going to get divorced because my youngest daughter said to me, I was going to college at the time. I decided I had to go get my college degree because I had to drop out of high school. I had done my GED in 1995. And I said, you know what? Let me go get my education and stop playing. So in the midst of all the craziness, I was working full time in the city, going to school at night.
Right.
My mom would stay with my kids, but my mom was sick at the time too. So we kept kind of going back and forth. She would get sick on me. I would have to take care of her, etc. But I did graduate. I managed to graduate despite going through a horrible divorce, despite my mother being terminally ill at the time, and despite the fact that my two daughters were in a state of depression because I had decided to kick their dad out. But the reason why I had made the decision at that point and said enough is enough is because my youngest daughter told me that while I was in school, he would take them to this woman's house who was his mistress, and that they were not allowed to talk about me. And that he had told her that I died and he was raising them by himself. And I said, no way, no how, you're not using my daughters right through this. So that gave me the confidence and the power to make the decision to say, I deserve better than this. Not only that, but my oldest daughter, who was about 17 at the time, I said to her, I was talking to her and I said, hey, don't let no man mess with you. Like you have to know that you need to be respected and loved and honored. And I'm giving her that kind of a speech, right? And she looked at me and she said, Mom, what are you talking about? You put up with all this stuff from dad and you don't say anything. And he's constantly with women and now he's exposing us to and I froze because that was not the message I wanted my girls to have. Right. So it's more important for us to show our children, not just the girls, because now the women abuse the guys, right? In our day and age, but not only to tell your kids, but to show them with your lifestyle how they deserve to be treated. And when my daughter said that to me, I said, absolutely not. I'm not doing this.
So let me ask you really quickly, Tony, because I know that I hear this story repeated, it's similar to mine, and it's similar to many people out there, not only women, but also men too, have endured very tough situations. But what is it like? The resilience is there, right? Because some people they can go both route, right? They could go either the bad way or the positive, successful way, right? So what is it really? You said you didn't want your daughters, but there must have been something inside, even while enduring the pain and struggles that you were in. There was something inside of you that you were maybe talking to yourself along the way, so that you can not fall apart and keep that strength. Do you
Yes.
remember what that might have been? Just for if there's anyone listening out there,
Yeah.
I always encourage, don't lose hope. But we all have our techniques or our habits or a little tool, right, that we use to kind of save us. I always say, no one's coming to save you. You can only save yourself, right? So
Right.
you obviously saved yourself. No one came to save Tony, like no one came to save many of us out here, right? But
Mhm.
what is it that the tool that you use that kept you from drowning?
Well, there was multiple people in my life that saw the greatness, saw the potential in me, and took the time to plant those seeds in me and say, I don't understand why you're tolerating that when you deserve better. I don't understand why you're allowing that to happen when you can make these changes.
Mhm,
And they set an example for me to be able to look at and say, I want that.
mhm,
That's what I want. I want that kind of lifestyle. I want to be able to be in a marriage this way, right? A marriage that is good and prosperous. Somebody who loves me, somebody who could protect me. And those people, key people, which I'm so grateful for, till this day, is they took the time to plant those seeds in my life. And sometimes, you know, these people planted seeds many years before I had enough courage to get up and do what I needed to
right.
do.
Mhm,
But it's those seeds that they planted that
right.
continue to grow and prosper and
Mhm,
allowed me to get to a point to say, maybe they're right.
right, right, right.
Because oftentimes people will say things to us and we tend to disregard it. We tend to say, oh, they don't know what they're talking
Yes.
about.
Mhm,
They don't know me, right? They
mhm,
don't know my life. They don't know what I've been through, blah, 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 blah. And
right.
we dismiss. But for whatever reason, those words and those actions allowed me years later to replay the tape, if you will,
Mhm,
and say, how come they see the greatness in me? How come they could see that
right.
I do have potential? Why they see that I could do this?
Mhm,
And the only person telling me I couldn't was my husband at the time. The
right.
only person telling me I wasn't good enough or strong enough was him. But these words kept coming back, and eventually it grew. They prospered. And
Mhm,
I was able to stand on that and say, hey, if they saw it, then it means I have it somewhere because I
mhm,
didn't know where,
right,
right?
right,
But
right.
I said I have to have it somewhere
Mhm,
in me
right.
because they're seeing it. And it was a lot of people that came in and out of my life that would always question why I was married to him,
Right, right. And let
right?
me quickly ask you, so I know that a lot of people, when they do the transition from being under someone, because that's a form of manipulation when they're trying to just down talk you, right? Because they're taking over your power of thinking, right?
Correct.
So I always go into the finance because I always hear a lot of men and women say we can't get out of certain situations because we don't have the finances in it. So let me quickly ask you, I'm in finance and I do speak with a lot of people and they just don't know how to begin or how to find a way out because of their financial situation. When
Mhm.
you got a divorce, what was your finances? Because you did already have two daughters, you went into school and you were doing all of these things along the way. What did your finances look like from the beginning, and how did that turn around for you?
Okay, well, initially, I was dependent on his salary
Mhm,
because although I worked, I wasn't earning enough income to support. Remember, I bought a house at 28.
Yes.
So I owned a home, I
Mhm.
owned a car,
Mhm.
right? I worked.
Mhm.
However, I was dependent on his portion of the salary
Mhm.
for me to be able to keep up the home.
Right.
So that is when I made the decision to that I needed to get out of the marriage.
Right.
What I did was I was quiet. I didn't say anything to him. I let him loose, if you would, right? For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I just kind of let him do whatever he wanted to do outside the house, whether
Mhm.
he came home or not. I just stopped arguing and fussing. And
Mhm.
I put a plan together.
Mhm.
And this was my employer at the time. I said to her, I want to get out, right? I
Right.
want to get out, but I can't afford the home. And
Mhm.
she said to me, she said, all right, well, listen, we're looking to start an IT department here.
Right.
You're good with computers. Tony, why don't you go get your degree
Mhm.
in computers and we can promote you and you'll be in charge of the department? And I said, really? She said,
Mhm.
yeah, the company will pay your education. And I went, wait a minute. And I went right away. I went to see what schools were available, what programs were available.
Mhm.
I decided with her which course, and I went to the college. I signed up, and I was able to do this. And they paid for all my studies.
Mhm.
But the reason why I jumped on it was because I was ready to get out, but
Mhm.
I couldn't financially support myself, my two kids, and my mom. And then I didn't want to lose the house on top of that.
Right.
So what
Right.
I chose to do was make a plan. I began to pay off any joint accounts that I had with him. So if
Right.
I had credit cards
Mhm.
that were joint, I paid them off and I
Mhm.
cut them up while I'm going to school. So I got this plan. I'm going to get my education, but at the same time, I was cleaning up my finances so that when I broke the news to him that I was going for a divorce, I was already disconnected to a certain point, right?
Right.
Because
Mhm.
we had the house, we had several things. But
Mhm.
financially, he no longer had control of the bank account because I had opened up my own bank account. I started paying off the joint cards, credit cards,
Right.
and cutting them up, closing the account, and then reapplying for one under my name
Okay.
only. So
Mhm.
I started doing this, and like I said, I stood very quiet. I let him come in, not come home. I didn't fight with him. I just let him loose, and focused on my game plan. But what I didn't plan for was that when my daughters figured out that I was going to get separated or divorced from their dad, both my daughters went into a state of depression. And
Wow.
that was something else that was thrown at me that I had to kind of juggle and figure it out. But that is how I figured out that financial aspect, because I knew that if I didn't clean up anything that was connected to him and me, it was going to haunt me later, because years before that, maybe 10 years before that, I had to file bankruptcy because he used up all my credit cards, took my savings, right? He had
Mhm.
done all this crazy stuff. So
Right.
this time I was a little wiser and I said,
Right.
I got to work on my finances.
Yeah, I love that you went in on the finance. I know a lot of people are scared to face their financial blueprint, right? So, and
Mhm.
especially women, because you see, you're saying you look for things that were joint and tied you to him, and started slowly dissolving that so that you can make your way out, right? And I feel that a lot of women, I was speaking to someone yesterday, and she's not in the best situation, and I told her, start paying attention to the bills that are being paid, when they're being paid, because I feel that everyone worries when the unexpected happens. And we always think that the unexpected is that he's going to leave us, right? He's going to leave us, he's going to leave your world in a total disaster. But I was having a conversation with her and I said, you know what, start doing these little things, because what if the unexpected is a little bit different? What if something unexpected, as in his expiration, was to happen in the midst of you transitioning, and now you're going to be stuck in not knowing what you're doing, right? So the fact that you faced your financial situation, I think that all of us need to build that relationship, whether it's a good or bad one, and just stop running away from the bills and this. Start looking at them, open them up, even if you don't have the money, open it up, because it's making it something real where your brain is going to start trying to, I always say your brain is always trying to save you, right? So financially, it's going to gear you in the right direction. So I love that you went full head, which is very rare to hear. So already it shows you had grit, right? You were someone that was not going to give up. You were someone that was fighting for your daughters and your mother. So, and I love that you went into IT. What I want to point out about that as well is that you spoke up, right? Also, a lot of us feel we're alone and we need to figure things out on our own. But the fact that you spoke up to this teacher, guess what? It's when you say something, the doors will open. And that's what she did, right? She opened up those doors where you were able to walk in, gain knowledge, and become someone. So what is the transition that you did now with your businesses? Because I know IT and what you're doing now, even though you're using little scans and stuff, it's not the same, right? So I want to go a little bit into who you are today and the services that you're offering and why. Because I've seen you at work. You've actually been a vendor in my Christmas show, and I can see all the information that you're giving to the people that are coming towards you for asking questions. So I love that, and I want you to start sharing a little bit about that. What is it that transitioned you from the IT to now being a coach, a mentor, and then in health as well? What was that?
Well, remember, your heart, I always tell people your heart is going to lead you into your purpose.
Right.
And although I studied IT and computer networking, that wasn't my heart. That wasn't what drove me. It was an opportunity for me to make the money that I needed so that I could transition my family, my kids, and myself out of a crazy marriage.
Right.
So I did the work, and I did it for almost 15 years. I worked as an IT manager and hated it because I was not happy. I didn't see the fruit from it,
Right.
right? Other than people were back on their computers or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
So as a teenage mom, I had my first child at 16, and I struggled. I struggled a lot. I dropped out of high school. I couldn't find a great paying job, right? Because I didn't have any education. I had never worked a day in my life. And so I had to take on these dead end jobs. And then I finally got a secretarial position where in this company that I was telling you about, and I was in that company for almost 19 years, I think, or 15, 17, 18 years, somewhere around there. And when the opportunity came up for me to make the decision that I wanted out of my marriage, no, I'm sorry, lost my train of thought. When I got tired of the IT stuff because I just couldn't, I wasn't happy. A lot of people are working today in jobs that they hate.
Right.
They work with people that they hate. They hate their bosses, right? And going into work is kind of like a drag because you don't want to be there. You don't want to do what you're doing. And I did that for many years, and I hit a fork in the road where I was like, was this really my life purpose? Was my life purpose to always be miserable, like never be happy, right? Like truly do something that I enjoyed. And what happened is I never shared my story about this sexual abuse or my upbringing. And I was invited on a show that the woman interviewed me, and for the first time in my life, I let that go. And it was very emotional and very draining because I was crying. It was
Right.
hard. It was a hard thing to do, but I did it.
Yes.
From that interview, I began to get many phone calls from people all over who wanted to talk to me because they had either been in the situation or were currently in the situation.
Right.
And it allowed me the opportunity to speak to these men and women, because it was both,
Mm-hmm.
and guide them
Right.
and kind of share with them how I was able to let that go, how I was able to forgive my abusers, to forgive my parents, right? Because I held them responsible because
Yeah.
they allowed me into situations I shouldn't have been.
Right.
But I went through a transition and I went through steps. I read books, I spoke to people. I am part of a mentorship academy that I've been in now for the last 4 years, 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
where I have learned in this academy to heal. I
Mm-hmm.
had to go through an inner journey. It wasn't exterior. And a lot of us want to go to sleep and wake up and say, okay, I forgive you. That's not the way it works. You have to do the work, and it's hard. But through this mentorship academy, I was able to look inside and say, why am I so miserable?
Right.
Why am I afraid? Why am I not moving in this direction? And I was able to heal all those hurts and letdowns and disappointments that I went through as a child
Mm-hmm.
and free myself. And
Mm-hmm.
you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I freed myself
Mm-hmm.
from all that negativity that was holding me back.
Right.
And
Right.
one by one, because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do it all at once. One by one, I started cutting those soul ties. I started cutting them up
Right.
and saying, you know what? I want to forgive that person. I have to forgive them because they're holding me back. And
Right.
I processed that tearfully, screaming, kicking, hollering. But I did it until I was cleansed and I was able to say, yes, I
Right.
can forgive you. Right.
Yeah.
And that included my
Yeah. Yeah.
parents, the abusers, and everything. And through that position, I realized as well, right, that now I was in a better place
Yeah.
to counsel, to guide, to mentor, to direct people in a journey of healing.
Yeah.
And
Tony, one of the things that I love is that you went and you seeked out the resources. So it's not only just someone trying to heal, but you have to put the work in it. The same way you put work into anything else. So like a lot of people know my story, I actually got certified as a hypnotherapist, and it wasn't for anyone else. It was for myself, right? Because I was on the healing journey. And I believe that that is when you truly heal, when you know that you have to seek out. And it's almost like you're becoming a professional in you, right? So you know how people study a field and they want to become the professional in that field. But at times we also have to be the professional in who we are instead of letting people tell us who we are. Find out who we really are and invest into that, right? Into that chance that we have to now, even though we're adults, we can still cultivate who we are and transform ourselves to who we want to be. So I love that. Do you remember any of those books or one book that you can say for someone to read? Because I love to read. I love books. So if there's one book that you would name that you would say, this is a book I would highly recommend, what would that
gosh,
be?
there's so many. I have a whole library downstairs in my basement. There's so many books. If I'd have to pick one, goodness. I'm gonna say The Secret started me off,
Okay.
and then I would have to say that, gosh, it's hard to pick because I read, if the title of the book has anything to do with improvement, I'm
Right, right,
grabbing it.
right, right,
So
yeah.
really, it's hard to say one. The Secret
Yeah,
started me in understanding,
yeah,
but there's a lot of little things from
yeah,
different books that have helped me stay in the straight and narrow, and not give up on myself, because you said something before that we have to become a professional of
Of
ourselves, right?
ourselves.
An
Mhm.
expert.
Yes.
And that is so true because often we walk around this planet not really knowing who we are,
Mhm.
what we want, what we don't want.
Mhm.
What's back here, and it's what happens because we're products of our environment. So what's back here is, well, my mother said I was this. My father said I was that. My sister said I was this. And we grab those things and we create a picture of who we are based on that.
Right.
But when you take that mask off, you realize that that's far from the truth.
Right.
You are not that person. And the reason why you're not happy is because you're living a life that doesn't belong to you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm trying to think of the term they use for that, and it just went out of my head. The
Mhm.
imposter syndrome.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
live in that imposter syndrome because we are living what we were told we are.
Right.
And that is so dangerous. And I used to do that to my kids, right? Too, because I didn't know. So I would pour into my daughters, no, you this, and you're gonna be that, and you. And when I realized what I had, I went back to my girls and I was like, you could be anything you want, and I'm gonna back you up. Like, I know you have potential, but what do you want? Because I had to understand that I didn't want to be that parent, right?
Right.
I didn't
Right.
want to be telling them what they needed to be or who they needed to be. And I'm so thankful that my daughters are in very strong individuals. They're not dependent on anybody. My daughters could be alone or with a man, and
Yeah.
they are fine. And I'm grateful for that. But because they have their own mind, I allowed them to. Yes, I planted seeds because I wanted them to be the best they could be. But
Right.
I also knew when to say,
Yeah.
"Go ahead, Mama, do
It's
your."
important. Yeah, it's important as a parent to pay attention. Like I always say, I raised three kids. Well, I raised three adults because I never called them kids. I always said I'm raising adults because I was a single mom at one point, and I would say I'm raising three adults, and I did treat them each individually. I didn't, even though they were all three raised by me, I raised them each differently, right? Because of their character and their personality. And also, me too, I learned when they were younger the power of words, right? I would actually walk into my kids' rooms while they were sleeping and I would talk empowering words over them because I didn't want them to be, like once we endorse something in life, we become a statistic, right? Because we leave that almost as an inheritance, right? So, especially in the Puerto Rican community and the Latin American community, in general, we see that because, like you said something earlier in the conversation, how you endure things in silence, right? And it's very common in our community to do things in silence. And it's really sad that a lot of people still believe that so many years later, right? So there is power in everything that we say and everything that we do. So we do have to be aware of how we are raising our adults. Like I never say I'm raising kids because you're not raising a kid, you're raising an adult.
Right.
So what is the adult you want that to be? So I love that you did reframe the words that you were giving to them so that they can be empowered by you, because already now you're being an example of, you were in one situation which was turmoil and very traumatic because you said
Mm-hmm.
that they were in a state of maybe depression or fight or flight because that causes that. And now with them watching their mom come from that, go to school and transform her life, and you even transforming the way you're raising them, like that is, I love that, because I wish that so many parents would understand that this is the future, right? This is your generation. You're going to leave, but they're going to be left behind, right? So they are always going to represent you. So I really, really love that you went and did that. So continue with your story. I love everything that you're saying. Is like I'm super excited hearing it because I believe if I can relate, I know there's so many other people out there that can relate with you as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So within that transition of healing, of bringing healing to myself and being able to forgive all the hurt and all the disappointment that I had endured, even with my ex-husband, we are good friends now, right? And people see us and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I wanted to kill him at one time, but now we're good friends, right?" And we can talk about things now that we couldn't before, but that had to do because of my healing and me being able to restore myself to my purpose, because now I'm doing things that I love to do. What is that? I'm helping people, I'm mentoring people. Now I was diagnosed with sarcoidosis, which is an autoimmune condition, and it's where my body is killing itself off. It's attacking itself.
Wow.
And in my case, it's in my lungs, my spleen, and in my liver. So what's happening is that in my lungs, my body thinks I have maybe an infection or something, and it's attacking my lung. But when it attacks my lung, it creates what's called a granuloma, which is like a bump.
Uh-huh.
That bump with time becomes a scar tissue and
Okay.
it becomes hard. And so I lose the portion of the lung that has the granuloma on it.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, it's about, if this is the size of my lung, I have about this much bottom part of my lung that
Wow.
is covered in granulomas, and
Mm-hmm.
it's in both lungs. It's
Mm-hmm.
in my liver and it's in my spleen. When I was diagnosed with this after, I want to say 8 years of
Right.
going in and out of the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
different medications, I finally was diagnosed and told what it was. I started a treatment for it because it was very quickly spreading.
Wow.
We were able to get it into remission by the grace of God and prayer. I really believe that. And it went into remission.
Mm-hmm.
And that, when you're faced with death, it
Mm-hmm.
changes you.
Yes.
It changes you forever. And you start to see things very differently. Where I thought I would live forever and I had all the time in the world, now all of a sudden I got hit with, oh my God, how much time I got left,
Wow.
right? Not only that, but I was part of a trial program with
Mm-hmm.
the hospital that I was being treated at. And it
Okay.
was a group of 5 of us
Mm-hmm.
doing this experimental treatment because the treatments that were out there weren't working. They still don't know too much about the illness.
Mm-hmm.
But by the grace of God, guys, there was 5 of us that started. I'm the only one living.
Wow.
I'm the only one living and healthy.
Wow.
Sorry.
Oh,
um, and that made me see things like, hey, you gotta fight. You got to fight this battle with everything you have. And so I started looking at nutritional ways, natural ways. I looked at medications that the doctors were giving and
no.
all this stuff. And I have to tell you, I don't knock medical science. I'm grateful for medical science because I believe I'm here because of what they did for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as I stayed on the cocktails of medication that I was on,
Right.
I wasn't feeling better. I was feeling worse. Every
Wow.
time I went to the doctor, they would tell me, oh, you got this now, or you got that now, or this is out of control. This is better, but this is, and it was a
Wow.
constant thing. And I said, I don't want that. I want to be able to be healthy. So I
Right.
started looking into natural things that I could take for my illness because I was really looking first for my illness.
Right.
And I found these phototherapy patches that I started using. I used them
Right.
for 2 years
Wow.
and my condition got better, way better. And
Mm-hmm.
then I kept looking. And then I found this line of supplements, which is where I'm working now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a natural supplements that you can take. There's no drugs, chemicals, stimulants. There's no dyes in there. It's all natural. It's made with nanotechnology. What does
Mm-hmm.
that mean? That the particles that they're made with, the products, They
Right.
are grinded down to the minimal molecule so
Right.
that it becomes like a fine powder.
Okay.
That allows the body the ability to absorb these supplements.
Mm-hmm.
Where if it's too thick, the body tends to not
Yeah.
absorb it, so
Mm-hmm.
you're wasting your time in consuming them.
Right.
So, and they're also adaptogens.
Mm-hmm.
Adaptogens means it adapts to the needs of your body. So
Okay.
if you don't need it, it's gonna go, right? You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to
Right.
worry that you're taking a supplement that your body doesn't need, because if
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't need it, it discards it. So
Yeah.
that those two components to me was like yes, because if you take too much of something, it could be a problem. And if
Right.
you take too little, it could be a problem. Now that problem has been erased because the product itself will adapt to your needs.
Right.
And they have a slew of products that I've begun to take. 3 months ago, I started a journey
Mm-hmm.
to, I was a diabetic, I had high blood pressure, and I had high cholesterol.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And I started taking the supplements and I started just watching what I eat. Not really crazy because I love to eat. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to go on a diet. I'm not. But I
Right.
just started watching. Like if I was going to have a piece of cake, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
had the piece of cake, but it was a smaller piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to half the cake or
Right.
whatever the case may be. 3 months, my A1C went down one whole number.
Okay.
My fasting blood sugars went down 30 points, and my cholesterol is normal. Not only that, but my ACE count, which is how they check my illness,
Mm-hmm.
is in normal range just in 3 months.
Wow.
So after that, I've said, it's a wrap. I'm going to share this with everybody because I know that they work, right? I know they work. They've worked for me. So now it's my life goal to kind of help people understand that you can do it naturally.
Right.
I
Right.
mean,
Right.
think about when we were kids. My mother was one that she would buy all these different herbs and boil them and grind them, and she'd make her own
Old
medicine,
school.
right?
Yeah.
Do this
Yeah.
with that and do this,
Yeah.
she was
And
always
it worked.
doing
It
something.
worked.
Absolutely. So now that's where I'm going back to basics, right? I'm
Right. Right.
learning about, I'm really doing homework about different herbs and spices and the
Mhm.
supplements themselves. They have all these natural, they're vegan, so they all have these plant-based products in there. And I'm reading and I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, what is this good for? Is it only good for that or this, right? So
Yeah.
I'm a student right now. I'm learning, but I'm in the same process. I'm helping people
Right.
come
Right.
to a place where they know they can have this alternative if that's what they want. And
Yeah.
not only that, but we also have what's called a bioelectric quantum analyzer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a scanner that with
Right.
electrical impulses, we clip it on your finger, and
Mm-hmm.
with electrical impulses, it goes in your body and it checks 45 different parameters in your body. And it can tell you where your body is deficient of what. So
Mm-hmm.
no more guesswork, no more having to go do 50 blood tests. You
Right.
just put this little machine, it takes about 2 minutes, the whole test,
Mm-hmm.
and the report is like 120 pages big. So it's giving you a lot of
Wow.
information, but it
That
lets
is
you know
good.
if you're deficient in vitamins, toxins, chemicals, if there's any issues with your organs, your body, anything and
Right.
everything. So
Let me
that
quickly
too.
ask you. So I know that you're medical, like you said, you don't do your medicine and you're taking down this holistic route.
Mhm.
Are you still seeing your medical doctor just to follow those numbers?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
what are their thoughts, or what is it that they're saying with the system that you're currently using? What is it
Well,
that I know they might not be too
I'm
happy.
going to say this, but this is me, guys. This is me. I'm not saying anybody else should do it, but I'm a little daredevil and I just take chances.
Right,
So
right. No, which
I
is
did,
similar. Is similar to me. I had a few issues. with my body, which I'm going to plug in here really quickly. Maybe it could be something that you're enduring, maybe it might not. But I also, my body fell apart. And I always say, the body keeps score. So when you go through a traumatic situation, the body kind of remembers, and it doesn't know external impact to an internal impact. And sometimes our body falls apart and becomes very sick, but it's because of maybe traumas that we have endured that were not physical. It might have been more emotional and mental. So I am also very holistic. I like to go the holistic route. Thankfully, I don't have any markers, high blood pressure or anything like that. I do see my doctor. But yeah, they're always saying, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. And yeah, it's a little bit of what you said, is you're being aware of what you're doing. So I actually started my journey now of being aware again, right? And being present when I do and make decisions that have to do with my health. And I did see you using this little machine, right? For those of you that are listening, Toni was actually in the Christmas market, and she'll be in the Christmas market again on the 21st. So if you are interested in having her run these tests for you really quickly, we're going to be at Pepe's Latin Bistro on the 21st, and she has a table there, so you actually can come out and see the products that she is talking about, and also have these tests run. And she does them right there at the table where you'll be able to see on the computer. So go ahead, Toni, share with us what this is.
So this is the quantum analyzer machine, very tiny, as you can see. It fits in my hand. Okay. And I have my screen there, and I just hook you up. I'm sure you guys have all done this. You go to the doctor's office and they stick your finger in here and they check your oxygen levels, right? It's called an oximeter. This is all it is. This is all I do. I put this on your finger, connect you to this machine, and the machine gets to work. Okay. And what this machine does is, like I said, it takes 2 minutes to check you, right? And in 2 minutes, it's going to let me know if you have any kind of deficiencies in your body, be it vitamin, amino acids, be it your your organs, if any of your organs are affected, how your heart is working, how your brain is working, all the different parts of your body. It leaves nothing out. It talks about your skin, it talks about your bones, your neurological system, everything, right? And so when I decided to start this, I did the test in September, and I have the reports to prove the results, right? I had 7 pages of things that were wrong with my body. In 3 months, I did it again, December 4th. I was down to 3 pages just by using the supplements. So yes, when I went to the doctor, initially started using this, I did not tell the doctor. I just said, I'm going to do this. We'll figure it out later, right? I was testing my blood here at home and taking my blood pressure just to make sure that it didn't get out of whack. But I just said, I'm just going to do this. And so when I went to see the doctor in November, he was like, wow, this is really impressive, Toni. Your numbers are incredible. And he went through the list, and this is normal, and that's normal, and this is normal. And wow, this is amazing. He said, what are you doing? And I said, you want me to tell you the truth, or you want me to lie? And he said, no, I want to know what you're doing, because this is incredible. Right. So I told them, I said, okay, and guys, this is not recommended. I'm not.
I was just going to plug in a disclaimer.
The rule is you work with your medical doctor and you allow him or her to work alongside you on this journey.
Right.
This is a Toni, because Toni is just Toni, right? I decided I just stopped taking the medication. But I was monitoring my blood sugars. I was doing my blood sugars every day, and I was taking my blood pressure because I needed to make sure that didn't get out of control. Okay. So I did that. It's not recommended. Please see your doctor, work with your doctors. Okay. But when he said to me, this is all great, what are you doing? He said, well, actually, the cocktail medication I got you on must be working. It's great. And I said, no. He said, what do you mean? What are you doing? And I said, well, I stopped taking the medication on this day.
Right,
I
right.
said, and I have a book where I was writing all my numbers down as I was
Mhm,
testing myself. And I
mhm,
said, and look at the way, look, it started here,
mhm.
look where it's at here.
Right, right, right.
And he was like, you stopped taking your medication? I said, I did. And he was like, but you didn't talk to me about, and I said, no, sorry, I just decided to join. I know I wasn't supposed to do that. I know, but I
Right,
did it, right? And I said, and I wanted to know if the product worked. That was another reason why I did it. I
right,
wanted to see if what they were telling me about the product was true.
right, right,
And
right,
I said, and obviously you're confirming that it does work because
right.
I'm not taking any medication.
Mhm,
So his comment to me was, keep doing what you're doing. It's working.
mhm.
So again, right, that disclaimer, please don't say I told you to stop taking your medication. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that. That was a personal
No,
uh,
definitely a disclaimer. Please pay
yes,
attention. If you are on medication, our recommendation is start paying attention to what you're eating, start exercising, go see your doctor, and then maybe along the way try one or two things here and there. But we are not encouraging you to leave your doctor cold
correct,
turkey, and you didn't hear this here, right? We're keeping it among
correct.
families. I really wish that we were able to maybe in the near future we can have this chat in Spanish, because I know that the Spanish community can benefit from your whole story right now, because
Mhm,
you know we are Latinas here, we're
mhm,
Latinas in Pennsylvania, and we know that you know a lot of our community sometimes doesn't have the correct resources so that they can find help, or even maybe for them to start understanding that it's simple things, simple tools that they can use on themselves so that they can get out of situations. So obviously you transform from your traumatic situation and now your healing situation. So you're just like a ball of transformation, right? Which I
yeah,
absolutely love.
mhm.
So really quickly, I want to ask you, yeah, I want to ask you, once you do that test, what is the next step for the person to do once they run those tests? They got their markers, they got their 200 pages plus, maybe, right? What are the next steps? What is it that they need to do? Who do they contact? How do they go about that?
So they can contact me, right, to get the test done. But what I do is I send them a copy of the report so they have it. They
Hmm.
can go back to their doctor with that report. It has the numbers and everything on. Everything you need is there. You
Hmm.
can go back to your doctor and have a conversation with your doctor. Not only does it tell you your numbers, it gives you day-to-day recommendations, like what you should add to your diet, what you should stay away from. And then on the very bottom, it will give you a recommendations of the products that we sell, that we can provide. Okay. And then on the bottom, it'll say you can use A, B, and C product to handle this if you don't want to do it the organic way, which is changing your diet.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
And so where is it that someone can find you? Maybe they can't make it down to the market
Yeah.
on the 21st. Where is it that how are they able to find you? Where can they get the information that you're giving them? How can they
Okay.
get coached by you?
So anywhere on social media, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube as Mentor Tony Rodriguez, Tony with an I, guys. Always remember Tony with an I for a girl. So Mentor Tony Rodriguez, you can find me on any social media platform. I also have a website called www.tonyrodriguez.net. You can find me on there. And what else? I'm on WhatsApp with the same Mentor Tony Rodriguez, or my phone number 914-525-2600. Again, 914-525-2600. I'm everywhere. If you look for me, you will find me.
I'm just
Um,
going to ask that when we get off of here, maybe you can share a flyer with the contact information where they can find you on all our social platforms as well. Latin Nexus on Facebook and Latin Nexus on Instagram as well as my page. Feel free to share on there because I do want people to get the resources that you have. And really quickly before we leave, to plug in here, I'm going to speak a little bit in Spanish. A mi comunidad latina que está escuchando, ¿verdad? Mentor Tony, que Tony Mentor, Tony. Tony, ella es increíble, ella puede ayudarla con diferentes situaciones. Obviamente ella salió de una situación muy difícil y fue transformada por las decisiones que ella tomó. Ella tomó decisiones de no perderse, sino de reinventarse. Y eso es toda la oportunidad de que todos tenemos en nuestra mano. A veces no sabemos cómo lidiar con ella o cómo pasar por esa puerta. También ella ofrece el servicio de cómo buscar tu salud a donde está. No estamos diciéndote que dejes tu doctor, sin embargo, es algo que quizá pueda usar trabajando junto con tu doctor. So, sí, cuídense su cuerpo, cuídense su mente y como siempre estamos aquí para asistirle. Y ella va a publicar también en las páginas públicas que tenemos de la Nexus en Facebook y en la página Instagram, cómo se pueden contactar con ella. Ella también estará en Pepe's Latin Bistro el 21, a donde usted puede pasar y hablar directamente con ella y ella puede hacer los exámenes para usted ahí mismo. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank Tony. Thank you so much for all the information that you have given us. I am so grateful. And like I said, sometimes we think we know people and we really don't know them. And when you shared your story, I said, I want her on because I think that a lot of us are on the same journey. We struggle and then we flourish, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that it's absolutely beautiful when we have so many people in our community that are a pinnacle of that, right? So where is your tipping point? That's what we're sharing, the tipping point, and everyone can obtain that. And I'm thankful for everything that you've done, everything that you're doing, because I can see that when you're working, you work with compassion. And I'm so grateful to knowing you and calling you my friend as well. So I am going to ask if you can share your information on our platforms. I'm more than happy to move you forward for your success and for those that reach out to you. Okay, so my name is Jeannie Ruiz, and thank you all for plugging in and watching the show. So remember, this is every Wednesday from 4 to 5. I'm trying to bring out people within the Pennsylvania, everywhere, right? Anywhere in Pennsylvania right now. So Monroe County, Lehigh Valley, Berks, anyone that is out here in Pennsylvania, when we connect, whether it's in person or through a social platform, we become stronger and we build strong communications and we build our community, right? And then for my Latin community, I want to say, you know what? Just reach out to someone that you might see on this platform because they might be your next door where you'll be able to walk in through. And I have an amazing selection of people that I'll be interviewing. So please make sure you subscribe to the page and put your little bell on so you don't miss any interviews. And maybe throughout the week, if I meet someone, I'll plug something in there, here or there, an interview. But yeah, keep your eyes open because Pennsylvania is coming into new things, right? New transformations and new connections. Knowledge is power, and the people that come on here are offering you those doors that you can walk in through. So I'm Jeannie, Latin Nexus Networking Show, and I'm so grateful to have you all on here. And I hope to see you somewhere near me. All right. So I'll be posting some. Also follow the PA Empowerment Show. Okay, so follow them on all platforms because this is the network that is bringing all this information. We have so many wonderful hosts across the platforms. Plug in, pay attention, and you're going to get all the knowledge you need. Okay, so I love you guys. This is Jeannie, and I'm signing off, and I'll be seeing you on Wednesday, God willing, here, same place, same bat channel. See you then. Okay, bye, guys.